On New Year's Day, 1777, the settlers from McClellan Station, now Georgetown, sought refuge at Fort Boonesborough. The threat of war imminent, folks just naturally added the word fort to Boonesborough, reporting that Indians had attacked their station on December 29, 1776. The defenders of the fort had driven off the attackers, killing their chief Pluggy. Knowing that the Indians would return and feeling that the position was exposed, they abandoned the station and were now en route to the settlements in Virginia. Thus was abandoned the last station north of the Kentucky River. The Indians, angered at the death of Chief Pluggy and the attack on McClellan Station, returned to Kentucky and forced under the command of Chief Blackfish, a war chief of the Shawnee, determined to rid Kentucky of its white settlements with a force of about 200 Indians, now armed and supplied by the British from the Indians, had agreed to join. Each of them remaining settlements in Kentucky came under continued surveillance. Settlers were well aware of the presence of many small bands of Indians in their vicinity at Fort Boonesborough. 2 hunters were killed as they returned to the fort. Boonesborough were killed as they returned to the fort. At Harrisburg, a party of sugar makers were attacked, and one of them, William Ray, was killed. Another was scalped within 100 yards of the fort as his family watched from the stockade. The settlers were virtual prisoners inside the stockade, which no man could leave without imperiling his life. The first open attack at Fort Boonesborough occurred at sunrise on April 24, 1770. The Indians numbered about 100, led by Chief Blackfish personally. They'd been able to dispose themselves around the fort before daylight without being detected by members of the garrison. The initial maneuver to draw the garrison out of the fort into an ambush was nearly successful. The Indian tomahawked scout Daniel Goodman within the sight of the fort, and Simon Kitten, who was standing at the gate of the fort, with his loaded rifle, shot and killed the Indian. Members of the outraged garrison, which at the time numbered only 22 riflemen, pursued the few Indians who were apparently withdrawn with the intention of teaching them a lesson, and thus fell directly into the trap laid by the wily Shawnee chief, Chief Blackfish. Sensing their danger immediately when they saw Indians between them and the fort, the members of the little band fought desperately and regained the refuge of the fort after a sharp hand-to-hand struggle in which 4 of them, Daniel Boone, Michael Stoner, John Todd, and Isaac Height, were wounded. A number of Indians killed. The hero of this encounter was Simon Kitten, who killed 3 Indians, right? Because that's a heroic thing to do. The Indians withdrew, but remained. Oh, he saved Boone's life too, Daniel Boone. On May 23rd and 24th, this same band of Indians made attacks on Fort Boonesborough, and each case maintained the attack until nearly midnight. After several attempts to set the fort fire to the fort, the Indians withdrew. Throughout these attacks, Daniel Boone, still confined by his wound from the previous attack, directed the battle from his bed. On July 4th, 1777, Fort Boonesborough was subjected to the heaviest and most serious attack it had experienced. That was the siege of Boonesborough by Chief Blackfish. 1776, Simon Kitten and Thomas Williams cleared land and plant corn at Kitten Station. Indian raids forced settlers to abandon Hinkston Station. They moved to McClellan Station. Residents of Boonesborough and Harrisburg meeting at Harrisburg vote to make Kentucky a county and elect George Rogers Clark and John Graybill Jones as assemblymen. Virginia legislature first rejects, then accepts Kentucky County created from Fincastle County. By December 31st, 1777, the Indian attacks were so severe, only 3 settlements were left. Boonesborough with 22 men, Harrisburg with 65 men, and Logan's Station with 15 men. On June 22nd, 1780, most of the residents of Riddles and Ruddle Station in present-day Bourbon County were captured by raiding Indians, who was led by the British. 1778, Indian attacks reduced Kentucky settlements to 3. George Rogers Clark, selected to lead an expedition against the British post in Illinois and helped secure Kentucky as a territory of Virginia. 1780, most residents of Martins and Ruddle Station are captured by Indians. Robert Patterson begins erecting a fort at the present-day Lexington. Bryan Station, 5 miles northeast, is settled. Kentucky County is divided into 3 counties: Fayette, Jefferson, and Lincoln. Chief Pluggy. He died at McClellan Station in Georgetown. Originally from a Mohawk band, Pluggy gathered another Mingo and Iroquois followers. He was a Mohawk chief. Chief Pluggy was a Mohawk chief. He took a band of 30 warriors up the Ohio Licking River, attacked Harrodstown on Christmas morning. Later that day, ambushed a 10-man party under John Todd and John Gabriel Jones. The men had been marching down the valley towards the Ohio River where Jones and George Rogers Clark had stored 500 pounds of gunpowder. When they were attacked, killing Jones and another man, the fusillade, and capturing another 4 men in the final charge. The remaining 4 were able to escape. The story later became told by one of the survivors, pioneer and hunter David Cooper, in the 1987 book, The Kentuckians. So the supply gunpowder was low, so they went and got some more gunpowder. Pluggy's Town, 18 miles north of present-day Columbus, Ohio. Columbus, named after Christopher Columbus, the genocidal maniac that started the European invasion. David Cooper in the 1987 book, The Kentuckians, by Janice Holt Giles. Several days later, he arrived at McClellan Station, a settlement of 30 families located in present-day Georgetown, defended by 20 settlers, including frontiersmen Robert Todd, Robert Ford, Robert Patterson, John B. McClellan, Charles White, Edward Worthington. December 29th, Pluggy led between 40 and 50 warriors against the fort, retreated after several hours of fighting, leaving a number of men dead, including Charles White and John McClellan. During the retreat, Pluggy himself was shot, killed by 4 of the fort's defenders in retribution for the death of McClellan. He was later buried by the members of his tribe on a bluff overhanging the nearby spring, and for a number of years afterwards, there was an echo that was the death cry of Pluggy in Georgetown. Maloonta was the chief of the Shawnee people, who was murdered by Hugh McGarry, who was another Shawnee chief that was murdered by the whites. The white people killed Cornstalk. The white people killed Maloonta in cold blood as a prisoner of war. Brothers, we all belong to one family. We are all children of the Great Spirit. We walk in the same path. Slake our thirst at the same spring, and now affairs of the greatest concern lead us to smoke the pipe around the same council fire. Brothers, we are friends. We must assist each other to bear our burdens. The blood of many of our fathers and brothers has run like water on the ground to satisfy the avarice, greed of the white men. We ourselves are threatened with a great evil. Nothing will pacify them but the destruction of all the red men. Brothers, when the white men first set foot on our grounds, they were hungry. They had no place on which to spread their blankets or to kindle their fires. They were feeble. They could do nothing for themselves. Our fathers commiserated their distress and shared freely with them whatever the Great Spirit had given his red children. They gave them food when hungry, medicine when sick, spread skins for them to sleep on, and gave them grounds that they might hunt and raise corn. Brothers, the white people are like poisonous serpents. When chilled, they are feeble and harmless, but invigorate them with warmth, and they sting their benefactors to death. The white people came among us feeble, and now we have made them strong. They wish to kill us or drive us back as they would wolves and panthers. Brothers, the white men are not friends to the Indians. At first they only asked for land sufficient for a wigwam. Now nothing will satisfy them but the whole of our hunting grounds, from the rising to the setting sun. Brothers, the white men want more than our hunting grounds. They wish to kill our old men, women, and little ones. Brothers, many winters ago there was no land. The sun did not rise and set. All was darkness. The Great Spirit made all things. He gave the white people a home beyond the great waters. He supplied these grounds with game and gave them to his red children. And he gave them strength and courage to defend them. Brothers, my people wish for peace. The red men all wish for peace. But where the white people are, there is no peace for them, except it be on the bosom of our mother. Brothers, brothers, listen to me. The white people have done us harm, brothers. The white men despise and cheat the Indians. They abuse and insult them. They do not think the red men sufficiently good to live. The red men have borne many and great injuries. They ought to suffer them no longer. My people will not. They are determined on vengeance. They have taken up the tomahawk. They will make it fat with blood, and they will drink the blood of the white people. Brothers, my people are brave and numerous, but the white people are too strong for them alone. I wish you to take up the tomahawk with them. If we all unite, we will cause the rivers to stain the great waters with their blood. Brothers, if you do not unite with us, they will first destroy us. Then you will fall an easy prey to them. They have destroyed many nations of red men because they were not united, because they were not friends to each other. Brothers, the white people send runners among us. They wish to make us enemies, that they may sweep over and desolate our hunting grounds like devastating winds or rushing waters. Brothers, our great father, the King of England over the great waters, is angry with the white people, our enemies. He will send his brave warriors against them. He will send us rifles and whatever else we want. He is our friend and we are his children. Brothers, who are the white people that we should fear them? They cannot run fast and are good marks to shoot at. They are only men. Our fathers have killed many of them. We are not squaws, and we will stain the earth red with their blood. Brothers, the Great Spirit is angry with our enemies. He speaks in thunder, and the earth swallows up villages and drinks up the Mississippi. Their great waters will cover their lowlands. Their corn cannot grow, and the Great Spirit will sweep those who escape to the hills from the earth with his terrible breath. Brothers, we must be united. We must smoke the same pipe. We must fight each other's battles. More than all, we must love the Great Spirit, for he is us. He will destroy our enemies and make all his red children happy. I don't know who that speech is from. I talk about how Chief Blackfish and Blue Jacket fought as British allies right after that. Shawnee Chief Blackfish. I don't know who wrote that speech. It was a good one. Maybe Tecumseh? We should vote for Ashley Judd. Fuck Mitch McConnell. I only had like 2 or 3 pages here. Number of prisoners were killed and a great deal of property was destroyed. Martin Station surrendered. Indiscriminate slaughter of cattle soon created a supply problem for the invaders and for 350 prisoners. Byrd had wanted to capture Fort Nelson first, but the Indians had refused to go there because of a rumor that Clark was there. They were satisfied with their success. They still feared Clark, and Byrd was forced to leave Kentucky. About 200 of the captives were retained by the tribes who had participated in the campaign. Byrd had about 150 when he arrived at Detroit on August 4th. At least 13 of the men volunteered for service with the British Rangers. While Byrd was still on the way to Detroit, Clark began planning a retaliatory strike to show Indians he could no longer raid Kentucky. The Indians put up a stiff fight at Piqua, but cannon fire drove them out of their fortifications. The British occupied the West for several more years. In Kentucky, 1782, 200 years before, Johnny Tsunami, Crazy Blackheart, the Revolutionary, out of Kentucky, is Skippy-Kitty. Kentucky's name is Shawnee, maybe Cherokee, or Yuchi. Possibly Iroquois, doubt it though. Plotter's been wrong about everything else. In Kentucky, 1782 became known as the Year of Blood, and an intertribal council held in June 1782, the Indians decided to eliminate the Kentucky settlements while British help was still available. Kentuckians redoubled their pleas for help, but Governor Harrison responded. The executive therefore recommends to the citizens of our frontiers to use every means in their power for preserving a good understanding with the savage tribes and to strike no blow unless compelled by necessity. In March 1782, some Wyandot warriors struck Strode Station, about 20 miles from Boonesboro, killed 2 settlers, wounded another, and carried off several slaves. The war party was pursued by Captain James Estill and 25 men, some of them from Logan Station. On March 22nd, Estill caught up with the raiders at Little Mountain near the future site of Mount Sterling. almost evenly matched. The opponents fought one of the most vicious battles in the history of Kentucky's Indian warfares. It was March 1782. It's the worst warfare in Kentucky, the worst Indian war right now is still near Mount Sterling.